I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's monthly Board of Trustees meeting for the School District of Greenville County, today being May the 28th, 2019. At this time, I'll ask Mrs. Glenda Morrison-Fair to lead us in our prayer. Following, Mr. Sudduth has an introduction for our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, let us observe a moment of silence daily as we ponder this magnificent world. Let us talk less and listen more with our hearts. Let us all represent positive leaders for the community. Continue the good work accomplished by the school board, administrators, and other individuals as we come to the close of another year. We humbly ask that you guide us to act with wisdom and a common purpose that will advance public education, student learning, and protect school safety. Amen.
It is our pleasure to introduce you tonight, a student who will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Gabriel Hugh Alley is a 5th grade student at Crestview Elementary School. He's in Miss Gray's class. He is a passionate soccer player. He has played with the Carolina Football Club for 7 years. He aspires to play professional soccer as an adult. If that does not happen, he would like to share his love of the sport as a soccer coach. Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gabriel. You may be seated. Our next item of business in order is the adoption of the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion properly made and seconded to accept the consent calendar. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Oyster, do you have some introductions, sir?
I do. Actually, I have quite a few introductions tonight, some catching up from the Committee of the Whole, and then a couple of principals that were approved, and a good number of assistant principals. So let's start with our new Executive Director of Facilities, Scott Carlin. Carlin, if you'd stand so I recognize you. Welcome to Greenville County Schools. And I believe he's actually working a little bit tomorrow, but officially starts July the 1st. The next person I'd like to recognize is George Ward. George, new employee relations representative coming into the district. I believe George will start July 1. And we look forward to having George here. You may recognize him. He's already a resident of Greenville County, but most recently an employee of Lawrence District 55. So we're glad to have you back in Greenville County. Next, two principals. First, a new principal at Eastside High School, Tina Bishop. Tina, welcome. Do you have anyone with you tonight?
They're all at the baseball game that I've got to go to.
Oh, okay. At least they had a good excuse. But we welcome you into your new leadership role. Jennifer Dodds, who will be the new principal at Malden Elementary School. Jennifer, congratulations. Do you have folks with you, or are they at another event?
I do. My husband, Taylor.
And welcome to you as well. We welcome both of them, and it's always especially meaningful for individuals when they get their appointment to their first principalship, as with the case with Tina and with Jennifer. So congratulations on that appointment, and welcome to Greenville County Schools leadership team at the principal level. Although both of you currently in the district, we're glad to see you move into those new roles of leadership. Now, quite a few assistant principals. First, to Bryson Middle School, Tiffany McElveen. Tiffany? Congratulations. Do you have anyone with you?
Former co-worker, but now good friends.
Very good. Berea High School, Lindsay Johnson, Assistant Principal. Let's see if we can't get the lights back on so we can actually see who you are. Okay. And you have someone with you?
I brought my husband Corey.
All right. Corey, welcome to you as well. Congratulations. Blue Ridge Middle School, Sandra Taylor. Sandra, congratulations. Do you have guests with you?
Yes, I have my husband Jeremy Taylor, and I have my principal, Karen Fuller.
Very good. Thanks to both of them for being here. Nicole Michael, Assistant Principal, Carolina High. Nicole, congratulations. Do you have folks with you as well?
Yeah, I brought my husband. He teaches at jail man.
Very good. Welcome to board meeting tonight. Kristen Wilson, Lake Forest Elementary Assistant Principal. Kristen, congratulations. Do you have someone with you?
I have my mom.
Very welcome to your mom. Malden High School, Stephen Bradford, Assistant Principal. Stephen, congratulations. You have someone with you?
Well, my wife Kayla.
You're welcome to her as well. Edgar Henson, Assistant Principal, Malden Middle. Edgar, congratulations. Do you have someone with you?
My wife Tiffany.
Welcome to her as well. Jason Staggs will be the new Assistant Principal of Mountain View Elementary School. Jason, congratulations. You have some folks with you as well.
Well, my wife Emily and my principal Jennifer Gibson.
Very good. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Metris Kane, Assistant Principal, Finnessy J. Fisher. Metris, congratulations. Do you have someone with you? And welcome to her as well. Carrie McCain, Assistant Principal, Rudolph Gordon. Carrie, congratulations. And I believe you have someone with you that we recognize as well.
I do. My husband Sean McCain, who's the principal.
Did you bring the outsiders with you? Just Sean, okay. Woodmont High School, Tatiana Shea, Assistant Principal. Tatiana, congratulations. Did you have someone with you?
I invited my 10-year-old son.
He wisely declined. Congratulations on your new assignment. And then for his assignment not yet determined, but will be an assistant principal at the elementary level with us this coming year, Wallace Cobbs. Wallace with us tonight? Wallace, congratulations. We look forward to having you join us in the district, and your assignment will come very, very soon. Oh, did you have someone with you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, my mother, Catrilla Cobb's house.
Welcome to your mom. Glad to have her with us as well. And I believe, Mr. Sailors, that I have recognized all those who needed to be recognized.
Is there anyone in the room that he has not recognized?
It's newly appointed.
Okay. And thank you very much, Dr. Royster. This evening, we have no appearance of visitors, so we will now move into the next item of business in order, which is the superintendent's report.
Is either Cooper Nicholson or Rachel Morris with us? I don't believe they are. And if they are not, I will cede my time tonight so that we may move through the agenda.
Okay. Our next item of business in order is item 5.01, the J.E. Serene Award Scholarship recipients. There is a recommended motion from the administration. Is there a maker?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve the new and renewal scholars for Serene Scholarships in the amount specified by the Serene Scholarship Program Report.
I have a motion properly made. Is there a second?
I second.
Duly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item of business in order is item 5.02, the revision of policy GBRI personnel leaves and absences. Recommended motion coming from Committee of the Whole, which requires no second, is to approve the proposed revisions of policy GBRI with the effective date of July the 1st, 2019. Mrs. Wells.
Yeah, I did serve on the committee, but I was not here for the Committee of the Whole. I wasn't able to make it for that, so I wondered if I could ask the chair of our committee to just recap kind of how we got to where we are, and then in addition to this policy, if there are next steps that were discussed at the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Meek, are you in a position to offer that information?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I always love a few minutes at the mic. I got a few stories I'd like to tell you, but anyway, the committee has met several times. That we looked at the first item. We looked at the personal leave days that the district has. We thought that would be the item that would not have any budgetary consequences this year. We've got several items we'll be looking at in the future, and what this policy change does, it effectively lets personnel that are not 12-month employees who do not have vacation time, it increases their personal leave days from 2 days to 4 days so that they're allowed to schedule those days with their supervisor. It also allows 12-month employees to move their personal days from 2 days to 3 days, and it gives them more flexibility. The recent survey I think the district did that we were all a part of, I think many teachers thought it would be a great service to them if they were able to have more personal leave days. That's why we looked at this item first.
Mrs. Wells.
So just one question to clarify. I don't know if it was talked about the Committee of the Whole, but it's been brought to my attention since that time, and I haven't had a chance to ask it. We have part of the teacher evaluation process, when they're evaluated annually, they have an attendance rate goal. So these 4 personal days, if a teacher takes their 4 personal days, would it drop them below their attendance rate goal, or does that count in that attendance rate goal or not?
I mean, any absence would count. I think Lynn can probably speak specifically towards what that target is in the teacher observation instrument.
We generally talk in terms of district average, so that is 96%. So if a principal's possibly concerned you below the average and your absences weren't covered by FMLA or other approved leave, but personal days you can schedule, and that's not counted against being below an average.
Okay, so you're saying all the schools in the district are held to a district average when they look at what their attendance rate should be in terms of the goals for teachers?
I think a better way to look at that would be guidance for them.
A guideline.
Because you're going to have circumstances where individuals are on medical leave, circumstances beyond which they don't have control. And we would expect their rate to be, if they had an extended illness, to be below the average. That average is really there for principals to deal with or work with teachers who have a pattern of a high number of absences with no mitigating circumstances.
Okay.
So the current policy says, for example, a principal can ask for a doctor's note if they believe there's an issue. When we look at the sick leave policy through this committee, those would be some of those things we want to look at and address, the language and how that is currently done.
Okay, but you're saying there isn't a hard and fast, okay,
No,
you need
no.
to have a 97%
No.
attendance rate?
No, it's not that
Okay.
solid.
All right, great. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item of business in order is item 6.01, the Internal Auditing Services Project Status Report. Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are presenting our monthly project status report on the projects that we're currently working on. We are close to issuing 3 audit reports. We also have started the purchasing card and credit card audit, and we'll be starting a couple new projects soon.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Barber? Mr. Sutton.
Mr. Barber, these 2 student activity funds, extended day and student Chromebooks,
Yes.
approximately when will those be available? When will they begin?
We're hoping to start the student Chromebooks soon, and the student activity funds, are you talking about extended day? Or are you talking about
The extended day program.
or the analytical, the extended day program? We probably won't be starting that till the fall.
Okay. Will the Chromebooks, how long will it take to complete that one, approximately?
We haven't done the planning yet, and we need to meet with a board member to determine what the audit scope is going to be, so we're really not sure yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mr. Barber? If you got to sit there and think it up now, come on.
Well, just, so just to clarify, the audit on the Chromebooks, we're not clear on what the scope of that is? If that's something you're going to develop the
Well, we'll have to
scope?
do the planning on it, and then we want to make sure that it was Mr. Lewis's request. We want to make sure that we meet anything that he would like to get, any objectives that he has. So we need to meet with him to determine how many hours it's going to take and what the risks are. So we have to do all that planning. We haven't started the planning on it yet.
So, respectfully, Mr. Chairman, I would like to say if there needs to be that sort of work, that the board as a whole
I think
be able to
that's the intention. After
have
this.
input into that?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Any other questions for Mr. Barber? Rick, thank you very much. Our next item of business is the item of committee reports under 7.01. Do any board, committees, or liaisons have anything they'd like to bring forward? Mr. Lewis?
Just a quick update on the Advocacy Committee meeting. So the main thing that we talked about today were a couple of things that are going to come before this board. So just to give you a heads up, one is there's a resolution that came out of the committee that should come before the COW next month. That would be a position statement to encourage the South Carolina School Board Association to take a position that would allow school board members to opt into the PEPA health insurance program. So this would be a resolution from us that then we could present to SCSBA that perhaps would encourage them to add it to their platform in the fall. So just to be consistent with the way that we've done other resolutions, it's come out of committee and it should come before the COW in the next month. I'm sorry.
No, when you finish, I wanted to ask
Okay.
you a question.
The only other thing that we're really looking at right now are 2 things for the summer and fall. One of them is, as you know, the Senate Bill 419, which was the Senate version of the House Education Reform Bill, never made it to the Senate floor. And so we plan to spend a good deal of the time this summer and this fall looking at the Senate version of the bill, particularly in what the fiscal impact of that version would have on the district, and use the opportunity that we have between now and January to perhaps provide some sort of recommended policy changes to the wording that might better suit this district's interests. So we'll be working on those over the summer and fall. Probably come back to you in late fall. The other thing that I would like to just draw your attention to that hopefully we'll be doing later in the fall, but just so that you know, is particularly with the renewed interest in teacher advocacy and helping teachers find their voice in policy making, one of the actions that came out of this committee was to encourage the board to pass a resolution encouraging the board, the superintendent, and the teacher forum to work on voter registration drives for the fall. And so we'll be wordsmithing that and getting that out, but hopefully that'll be something that we could actually work on in the fall as a partnership between this board and the teacher forum. So stay tuned for those things.
Okay, Dr. O'Connor, you got a question?
Yes, sir. May I ask Mr. Lewis a follow-up
Sure.
question? I wanted to ask you if in the resolution it refers to the fact that other entities, all other government entities in the state do have that privilege, and that school boards are the only ones excluded from that privilege, if that is still true. And I know for Ms. Bush and I were whining about this, nearly 20 years ago over the fact that we thought that legally we had this right, but for some reason the delegation or the state was just electing to exclude board members when the language said government entities will have access to being part of this. So, and then I know Mr. Sailors has brought it back on the horizon and has been working on it too, but I'm thankful you're bringing it, but I just wanted to know if the resolution will point out that we are the only government entity not currently included.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, this resolution is very narrowly written for a specific reason related to PIBA. We're trying to follow some advice that was given to us on how to walk through that minefield. And so we're trying to keep the scope as to the point as possible. The South Carolina School Board Association staff this past legislative session worked to try to get this process started, and it naturally got held up in the actions of the House. So in order for the association to take an official position, we feel it's appropriate to have a resolution as part of our delegate assembly later this year. So this is the first step toward that. We just want to be able to get the words school board, insurance coverage, and PIBA in the same conversation at the same time. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Sorry, Derek, go ahead. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Wells, you had a report?
Just kind of a quick request. So I'm serving on the training committee for the South Carolina School Board Association this year, and so part of that will be figuring out what we want to do with conference, if there's anything different that we want to do, if we want to align to a different theme or different elements. So if any of you have feedback, I mean, a lot of you have been attending for a long time, and some of you are relatively new, and I think both perspectives would be great. So if you have any suggestions regarding the training that SCSBA is doing, I'd be happy to take it from you and take it back to my work.
We have a meeting scheduled with that committee on when? Yep, okay. Thank you. Mrs. Levinus Wells?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Our committee has been working on the internal audit evaluation instrument. We will have 2 documents that we will go over prior to the committee of the whole for approval from the committee, the evaluation and the self-assessment. And both have been approved by Mr. Barber. And once that occurs, then we'll bring it to the board at the committee of the whole, and we'll work towards that. And we'll have Mr. Barber's evaluation in June, as it always is scheduled with the prior requirements.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other committees or liaisons? Hearing none, our next item of business in order is item 8.01, our monthly financial report. Dr. Oyster?
Thank you, Mr. Sailors. Mr. Knotts, do you have any particular information for what will, for your financial report this month, or just questions that folks might have?
Available to take questions as may come.
Any questions you might have, he'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Meek?
I might have added a few words in there.
I would not like Mr. Knotts to leave us early and not tell me what the unassigned reserve fund is.
The unassigned?
Unassigned.
The unassigned as of March is $180.4 million.
100 and what?
$180.4 million. But I would like to bring to the board's attention, included in that amount is the board required amount $51.6 million.
So we got 130 million.
About 128.7 million, yes, sir.
I rounded it off. You know. I'm not very good at math either.
About.
Jeff, did that include the new requirement, or that's on the old requirement?
That is on the FY19 general fund budget.
So there'll be as you recall, there'll be a new requirement take effect July 1 for the percentage of the FY20 budget.
And that requirement will go up to about a little over $55 million.
Okay. I was sort of looking at the graph that you have on the general fund unassigned fund balance. And it's not showing that much for March. Is it? Am I reading it wrong?
Well, you take out for the unassigned, you take the total unassigned of 180 million, then you back out the board required amount of 51.6. That takes you back down to the about $129 million.
Okay. My question, my real question is, in January it was up, that balance was up to close to 150 million, and last year it's 140 million. But I see in March that they're about 130 million, 128 million. Is that telling us anything? It's the same. We had more money in March unassigned, and then, I mean, in January, and then in March it's cut back down to what it was last year.
Yes, sir. One thing we have not done this year that we have done in prior years is generally by March, the administration has proposed to the board to approve the designation of unassigned fund balances for particular projects. And we have not done that year. But the 20, you're talking about the 20.8 million, 28% for March of this year?
Yes.
No.
I don't see any.
Well, I guess I'm just saying, what is it just seems to me like, you know, we had maybe $10 million more in January. Then in March, we're back the same as we were last year. And I'm just wondering why we are trailing that far.
Jeff, I believe the question has to do with the pattern. And it's a pattern over time of if you hit a high point in January, then you drop down in March. I don't think his question was in reference to the percent there.
No, I'm not sure what that is anyway.
Yes, sir. You'll realize and remember that in the January time frame is, in January, we were receiving the majority of our property tax revenue. We also receive some of it during February, but it starts tapering off. In the March time frame, we're receiving maybe $4 or $5 million a month in property tax revenue, as opposed to close to $70 or $60 million a month in the January-February time frame.
I remember last month or month before that you said that the receipt of tax funds was higher this year than it was last year.
Yes, sir.
But that does not mean we're receiving more
Percentage-wise,
money. We're just getting it quicker.
Actually, through March, percentage-wise, we're at 93.8% of our general fund property tax budget. Through the same time last year, we were at 92%, and then FY17, we were at 91.9%. So percent-wise, we're about 1.5% higher this time than the same time last year.
Okay, so we are receiving the money faster. Are we receiving more money? I mean, are we receiving more money than what we did last year, just not faster?
Percent-wise, I think we're within a 1.5–2% range for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So we are receiving, the mill value has gone up, so it is increasing additional revenue. It apparently is going up again this year, during the course of this year. So that's why we will be receiving a little bit more revenue, about $1.7 million so far, I'm projecting for the end of the year. So materially, we're not receiving that much more percent-wise, but we are receiving more percent-wise. We have just seen an increase in the mill value for the past several years. Not a large increase, but a mill value increase. I think we're still experiencing that during the course of this year.
If you read that graph, it is both a little bit more and a little bit faster, because the line's steeper and it goes higher. But it's not appreciably faster, and it's still within that 2% more, 1 to 2% more.
But at the same time last year, in March, we had the same money, or almost the same amount of money in the unassigned fund, although we received more faster.
Actually, last year, looking at February, we had the same amount of money in February as for FY18.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Knotts? Next month. Before I move forward, I wanted to also, yeah, go. You missed one meeting and you want to make it all up at one time, okay.
Well, I'm going to follow on to what Mr. Meek was asking about, because what I see is that last year, you know, the number is, we had 17.8% in our unassigned fund balance, 17.8% of that year's general fund budget. This year, right now, we have 20.8% of this year's general fund as a percentage of this year's general fund budget, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's 3% higher than what we were a year ago.
About 2.2%, yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So, to your point about we haven't had any requests come to us yet in terms of that fund balance with 130 million, and we know we're going to dip down, but you know, if you look at the trends, I mean, what do we think we're going to be looking at in terms of the administration bringing back recommendations for use of the fund balance, and when would that come to us?
Probably August, September timeframe. Some of them having to do with security enhancements. There's one item left that we still hadn't completed on that because we want to bring it forward all at one time. And then we're also right now in the process of analyzing ADA compliance with playgrounds, and that may well end up being a part of the recommendation. But we just don't have cost. We have not yet costed the last item out.
Okay, so in both those cases, we would be looking at a recommendation to move these funds to cover expenditures that would normally be in our debt service, come out of our debt service budget, right?
Most likely, and that's probably going to be, unless there are other non-recurring things that come to light between now and then. Because as always, we want to spend that on non-recurring items.
Right.
So right now, that's what it looks like.
Okay. Well, and I'm very supportive of us doing that. We've got a lot to cover on the capital side right now. So if we have money that we can use to cover that, I'm supportive in favor of it. So, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Before we entertain a motion to adjourn, I failed to thank Mrs. Bush earlier for the flowers. I got so wrapped up in the Fine Arts Center. But Debbie, every month, thank you for doing this. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion properly made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.